Hi, and welcome back to the Drama Free Healthy Living podcast. I'm your host, Jess Cording, and I am so excited that you are here today. I'm going to do uh, little solo episode for this episode today. So we're going to be talking about mindset shifts for when you feel stuck, because I don't know about you. I've certainly been here, as someone who has been in practice as a dietitian for 12 years, plus health coach for almost 10 years. I'm a fitness instructor as well. I've worked with so many different kinds of clients, and I have found that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, there is a point where you will probably feel stuck on your journey, whether that's related to wellness, could be your career journey, your, personal life journey. So having some little, approaches for how you can handle that in your back pocket can be really meaningful. So I'm going to share 7 powerful ways today to shift your mindset for when you feel stuck. So, number 1 is identify the root cause. So, this is something that we're not always conditioned to really start with. I think so often we're just, and I see this all the time with my clients, with people in my personal life, where they are stuck in some way. And rather than really doing the work to understand where that stuckness is coming from, they just buy another online course, get another supplement, get another piece of equipment, try a new thing rather than going in deeper and understanding why why is this block occurring or what is making them feel stuck. So identifying that root cause is so powerful because it tells you where to start. So I would just say take a step back and ask yourself, why do I feel stuck? Is it fear, overwhelm, a lack of clarity, something else? But naming the source of your resistance or naming what is causing you to feel stuck is really the first step to breaking through that or making positive changes that can help you move past that. Because sometimes it's about breaking through, sometimes it's about taking a step to the side and taking a different route, right? It's not always about pushing forward. Number 2, reframe negative thoughts. So the way that we talk to ourselves, like so many of us, we are so much meaner to ourselves than anyone else in our life is to us. Unfortunately, that's not always the case, but very often we are our own worst critic. Or sometimes we internalize harsh critics from our past. Like, listen, at the time of this recording, I'm almost 40 years old, and I still have to remind myself sometimes that this negative voice in my head is actually an ex boyfriend from when I was in my early 20s who was just such a jerk to me and so critical of me and tore me down all the time. And you would think that 15 years of not having that in my life would be enough, but there are still times where I catch a thought about myself, something negative, and I'm like, "Oh, that's not just that's that guy. That does not need to be there." So when we catch ourselves engaging in negative self-talk, regardless of whether you recognize like where it's coming from or not, shift the narrative. So, for example, if you're feeling stuck because you're not where you thought you would be towards a goal, and I've totally been there, by the way, instead of I'm not making progress, try I'm learning and evolving every day. These little mindset shifts can create really big results over time. Right, number 3, take one small action. So when we feel stuck, often we end up in this analysis paralysis state, right? Where, um, we just are too overwhelmed to do anything, or we don't know what to do, or we are afraid that we're going to fail. So we just don't, we cut it off cut it off at the quick and say, well, that's not going to work. So I'm not going to do anything. But see, action creates momentum. So I would encourage you to choose one small step. Send that email, try a new workout, walk for 10 minutes, meal prep one healthy meal. Progress, no matter how small it is, how inconsequential it may seem to you, it actually fuels motivation. And really, when you show yourself that you can do that one little thing, 9 times out of 10, that's going to motivate you to do that next thing. All right, number 4, change your environment. This can be so helpful. And I mean, I think that we obviously have to be like, there's a line, right? Like we can't run away all the time as and call it changing our environment. But literally, like sometimes just changing what space you're in physically can be so helpful for giving you a different perspective or shifting your energy. So if you're starting to feel stuck, go for a walk or rearrange your workspace or your living room or your bedroom. That was something I used to do a lot when I lived alone. I would rearrange my apartment because I had a studio apartment. So I would there wasn't much space to work with, but I would move things around, and it was so cool to see that in my life, whenever I did that, things would start to shift in my life. I'm a huge believer in that. Or just another thing, you could just spend time in a different setting. This can really just help with just like renewing your energy and just giving you a different perspective. It's really hard to see a way through or a creative way around something that we feel blocked from or stuck in when we're just stewing in it. So change your environment. Number five, get comfortable with discomfort. We on social media, we see all these examples of perfection and things we should be aspiring to and highlight reels, right? Like we don't always see the journey and growth, and you probably heard this, but I just feel like it bears repeating. Growth really does happen outside of your comfort zone. And I get that this can be really hard, but instead of resisting discomfort, lean into it. And this can be in a big way, this can be in a small way, but ask yourself, what is this challenge teaching me? And often these challenging moments can lead to the biggest breakthroughs. And again, that could be like simple everyday discomfort, whether that is something like trying a new workout if you're on a fitness journey, or that could look like making an appointment with a therapist if you are really scared to start working on your stuff and the idea of talking about it with someone is like freaking you out and maybe is something that was not part of your like, you know, just not something, maybe there was a stigma against it when you were growing up. You're the only person in your family you know of that's ever thought about therapy. But, I think going out of your comfort zone and trying a different approach could be really helpful. Or trying a new recipe. Like, I love how I put like a workout, a recipe, and therapy like all in the same, like they're not all like the same level of discomfort. But or just even things like having hard conversations, knowing that a conversation is necessary and maybe you're scared that after that conversation that person won't like you, or if you say no to something because you need to make space for something else and it's really hard to say no, and you're scared that if you do that opportunity with that individual, that company is going to dry up or something because you set a boundary this one time or you're not available this one time. Just having the courage to know that it's worth having the conversations that you need to have. Those are just a few ways I've seen it show up for my clients and my patients. But getting comfortable with discomfort and just acknowledging that we are learning from it is really valuable. Number six, this one is one of my favorites. Practice gratitude and visualization. Oh, I love this one so much. Wow. Just shift your focus from what's lacking to what's possible. So I know in myself, I am my harshest critic. I've probably said that a million times, but it's true, especially when it comes to my work life. I know better than to compare myself to others. And it's interesting. I don't feel competitive with other people or even with myself, but I do have this, and I think we all do to a degree, like this tendency to just compare when we see something in front of us. It makes us question what we're doing and and being older than I feel sometimes like I run into um this feeling of like, oh gosh, am I really behind? Like, is that where I should be by 40? Like that's a real thing. So just like don't ignore your feelings, but just understand that when we look around at all of the incredible things we do have, it doesn't matter where we are in comparison to others or where we think we should be, right? Um, so I think that rather than focusing on what's not working and chasing that, really look at what is going well, what you really appreciate. That is so, so powerful. And there is like some of the most magic words in the English language are thank you. Is just incredible. And just when you allow yourself to really not just like, yes, acknowledging the gratitude is step one, but also just really like feeling it, like letting yourself feel how how awesome something is, how much you appreciate something, even if it's tiny little things like having energy to get out of bed today, or, really appreciating just how delicious vegetables are when maybe at a different time in your life you thought you'd never like vegetables. Or it could be something bigger too, somebody in your life you're thankful for, or an experience you're so grateful to be having. Um, and again, like it's not, you're not doing it wrong if you acknowledge that you sometimes have thoughts of comparing your journey to someone else's, or comparing where you are to where you thought you would be. But when you can kind of shift that and be like, sure, okay, those feelings are real, but look at all this really cool stuff going on, or these really amazing things in my life that I've called in. So helpful. So you might do this by starting a gratitude practice, whether that's in a journal or just taking a moment each day to acknowledge a few things that you're grateful for. Or another thing that I think is also super powerful is visualization. So this stuff is so cool. Like you guys can't see my crystal grid in here, and like all my, like I grew up around all this kind of woo stuff, I think, and I've shared this so many times, but it's why I went so clinical with my training, and all these years later have kind of brought all of it together, the science and the woo. We need both. But visualization, this is something, and there is research on this. This is not something I'm telling you that's new, but when we visualize what we want, or we imagine how we want to feel, it helps rewire our brain for calling in that stuff. It really helps in terms of just, it gets our brain conditioned to seek opportunities and recognize opportunities instead of focusing on obstacles. So instead of that frustrated energy of feeling like there's this obstacle in front of you, you have this more easeful, curious energy of looking for solutions, or looking for a different route, or something, or seeing something that you might not have seen otherwise. So visualization could also look like visualizing yourself taking the necessary steps to get somewhere. Like we were talking a few moments ago about um, taking one small step. Maybe you visualize yourself taking that small step. And over time, that helps you take the step and take it again and again and again until you are ready to move on to the next step. So I'm huge on visualization. I spend a few moments every morning, and this practice shifts and evolves as my life does. But as I'm recording this with you now, I'm in a phase where every morning I spend a few moments in meditation. My cat Beef usually crashes. He likes to join me. But I sit there with, usually with Beef, and I just imagine how it feels to feel like enough, to feel like I am enough, to feel like I'm doing enough, to feel like I have enough. For if any of you guys can relate to the workaholism as trauma response tendency, or have ever struggled with perfectionism or imposter syndrome, or feeling like you're not doing enough. I don't know if it's just my, like, all us elder millennials who kind of came of age in that like girl boss vibe, and are just trying to unlearn that still. Like, but that is something I personally find very helpful in my life, as I'm recording this for you. But gratitude, visualization, super powerful tools. And then number 7 is, okay, this one is really hard for me. Maybe it's hard for you too, but I think it might be the most important one of these 7. And that is prioritize self-care and rest. Oh boy. Yeah, well, how much can I say about this? Like, burnout and mental blocks, they really do go hand in hand. Um, and it sounds overly simple, but when we prioritize sleep, movement, and when I say movement, I mean movement in a balanced sense that serves us, not like insane hard exercise every single day for 60 minutes. Like I'm talking about movement that really helps you feel in your body, helps you feel strong and grounded. When you are prioritizing setting boundaries, nourishing foods that help you feel great, time for yourself, time where you don't have things planned. That's the one that's hard for me. I have to remind myself to leave white space in my calendar, to the point where I still do this. I've been recommending this for years. I do it in my own life. I literally put my name in my calendar. So that way I don't see it as free time. So I know not to book stuff during that time. So whatever works for you. But so, okay, why this is important. A clear mind and a relaxed and energized body actually make it more possible to move forward with confidence. Because when we are so burned out, trying to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, that mental block is still there. And you've maybe had this experience. It just gets worse. So when we let go a little bit, um, when we just loosen our grip, um, it is amazing how the body and mind respond to that. As human beings, we really do need space to play and just to come back to ourselves. So that could look like so many different things, but I just want you to know that self-care and rest, and I hesitate to use this word, but they are productive. Um, they are worthwhile. And I know that it's very easy to get caught up in thinking that we always have to be producing, doing things like demonstrating our worth, whatever it is that, however that shows up for you. But just to know that you deserve rest, you deserve to take care of yourself. And those things will actually really help you as you are shifting through a feeling of stuckness. So that is all from me today. And as always, guys, I so appreciate you being here. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this episode. And just as a reminder, this podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Yes, I'm a registered dietitian, health coach, but I am not your individual provider. So this podcast is not intended to be a replacement for individualized care. But I hope that these tips resonated with you. I would love to hear which ones really stood out to you. So take a screenshot of yourself listening to this, post it on Instagram stories, and tag me at Jess Cording. And if you want more of this kind of content, I invite you to sign up for my newsletter at jessicacording.substack.com. Every week, I share new content with you, different tips, tools, ideas for what to eat, how to take care of your body in a way that feels approachable and doable, even when you got a lot going on, because I sure get that. So as always, guys, have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon.